Currently, Nigeria is facing a displacement crisis with over 3.7 million people entirely displaced. The funding is no more. And the worst of it all is that these camps are overstretched. The forces driving this crisis are multiple and relentless, starting with the insurgency in the northeast, to the armed banditry in the northwest, the farmer-herder violence in the middle belt, as well as the climatic issues that are affecting 34 of the 36 states in Nigeria. For instance, last year we had over 900,000 people becoming homeless in a single season. Today we speak with the UNHCR representative in Nigeria, Mr. Arjun, Jain, to understand what is true nature of what is happening. Why are people displaced? Why is the durable solution very elusive? Is Nigeria doing its best to cut down on the number of these entirely displaced persons? Is there any permanent solution to the issue affecting Nigerian landscape, especially with regards to internal displacement of people? Mr. Arjun is the representative of UNHCR in Nigeria, and he has been in Nigeria since April 2024. He brings with him over 25 years of experience in areas like international protection, emergency response, and humanitarian coordination. He has worked in areas such as in New York, Geneva, and multiple field operations across Africa and Asia. In Nigeria, he leads UNHCR protection and solutions work, working with government, humanitarian partners, the women agencies, and the private sector. His work also includes supporting refugees, IDP camps, returnees, and host communities. Arjun, your work.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on the show.
I mean, when you look at the figure, especially 3.7 million people, these are the ones that are counted. We're not even talking about the ones that we may have not counted. Looking at where you sit and what your organization does, what do you think about the current displacement in Nigeria? Do you think we are capturing the numbers of people who are displaced either due to violence, either because of the climate change, among other things? I mean, we see the figures in Nextier because of the work we do. But I don't know for you. Do you think Nigeria is actually capturing the number?
Well, first of all, 3.7 is a number that is quite astounding, right? When you think about it, and you look at Nigeria, which is a regional superpower, it's one of the largest economy in Africa. It is a country. It has a vibrant private sector. People are coming here to invest. And yet you have 3.7. What does 3.7 million people mean? That amounts to around 3.5% of the world's displaced population. That is huge. And it's one of the largest numbers across Africa. Right? It's more or less aligned with the numbers internally displaced in Somalia. So the numbers are really, really large. And the challenge right now that we're facing is that the numbers are part of the issue. There's a story behind the numbers, and we need to talk about that. The shock is not just why do we have 3.7? That's part of the question. But the question also is, how do we prevent more people from being displaced? How do we find solutions? How do we convert a story of displacement into a story of solutions? How do we create a value proposition whereas people who are displaced are not seen as vulnerable and enabled and dependent on humanitarian support? But how do we convert the narrative and say, this is a community worth investing and finding solutions? The 3.7 are IDPs in the country. We're talking about Nigerians in Nigeria. we also have to recognize that there are 400,000 Nigerians in neighboring Chad, in neighboring Cameroon, and neighboring Niger. And just a few months ago, a few thousand also went into Tobago because of the crisis in North. Yep. So we are also exporting refugees, and of course, we are hosting 140,000 refugees actually from Cameroon. So it's a very complex displacement dynamic. The numbers is part of the story, but I think it raises some deeper questions on what are we going to do about it, and that's the challenge we need to address together today.
I mean, I have wanted to go straight and ask you what you think about the dual resolution, but I'll pack that and leave for now, right?
Sure.
And then let's look at the story behind the displacement. I mean, maybe because of my background, I tend to understand a little, right?
But you're right. Look, let's talk about it. It's not a simple, one-line story.
Sure.
Nigeria has layers of complexity, right? So let's just walk through some of those layers of complexity. So we have the most obvious Northeast crisis, the insurgency crisis that's been going on for 15 years or so?
Sure.
And you have covered that extensively in your podcast.
Yeah, right.
We also see the banditry that you mentioned earlier in the Northwest, but that's not just becoming banditry that's resource driven. It's getting a layer of extremism where you have people coming from neighboring countries and working with these bandits and further destabilizing the situation. And we're seeing the conflicts move, not just, we're not seeing the conflict just maintaining itself in Sokoto and Zamfara, but we're seeing it go down to the north central states. And that's a bit worrying, which is why we're seeing refugees from Nigeria move into Benin now. So that's another issue. Climate shocks is another issue. The Alo Dam that actually flooded Maiduguri city, people are still recovering from that, right? And every year we see rivers overflowing. It could be because of the fact that rivers are not being dredged on a regular basis, or it could be just climate change, it could be something like that. And then we're seeing the Middle Belt with its own layers of communal violence and other processes that are affecting the displacement issue. And then, of course, you have mining, you have all these other resource-driven issues that are affecting. Now, here's what we're seeing. We're seeing three different conflicts, one in the northeast, one in the northwest, one in the Middle Belt, and then, of course, we have others. But we're seeing them starting to connect with each other. We're seeing the northeast and northwest connecting with each other, where you have logistical support being supplied by various groups. We're seeing those groups coming further down south. And that is creating a certain degree of fear and worry amongst a lot of us. Now, layer that with a whole bunch of other things. Every year, the UN issues a warning that we will see children die of malnutrition.
Yep.
Right. So in the northern states, and other UN agencies have reported this, 100 children dying an hour due to lack of support, due to lack of malnutrition support. 100 an hour. That's a ridiculous number for a country like Nigeria that can actually provide food to its. So you have a rich country with poor people who are now getting that support. That is resulting in displacement. Last year, for the first time, due to lack of food, we saw Nigerians seek refuge in Cameroon because food was not available in this country. Even if food is available in the market, they can't afford. So you can have layers and layers of challenges, and one compounds the other. So that is fundamentally the challenge that we are facing across the country today.
I mean, let me move from another perspective, right? I'm sure both of us sitting here, we can feel it, we can see it. I'm not sure, I don't want to talk about the Nigerian political class. If they see it, if they feel it. I don't want to talk about the Nigerian elites, right? If they see it, if they feel it. Most times I'm bothered about let me use the word, the common Nigerian? Does he understand it? Does he feel it? Right? Why I'm saying this is that most times I tend to think that our fault lines seems to block that unity among Nigerians to see it. When we had issues in the Niger Delta, the other part of the country didn't care about it until the young boys started breaking the pipelines. The government started crying because he affected the national economy. When we had the same situation in Burundi, nobody cared about it. It wasn't going to get to Lagos anyway. It wasn't going to get to Abuja until it got to Abuja. So, do you think, based on the work you do you think that an average Nigerian understands that that internally displaced person that is in Burundi is your brother, is your sister, and some power affects?
So I don't believe that will happen in many countries, right? It's not a Nigeria-specific challenge. I think in any situation, people will demonize what they don't know. People will demonize, somebody that is not associated with them. So refugees get a bad rap. So IDPs get a bad rap. And this is a crisis we need to address globally. But let me tell you a few stories which I think have made me keep hope in this country, right? I was in Cross River, and we have a number of Cameroonian refugees there.
Yeah.
Yes, Cross River is the largest refugee Boston state.
Yeah.
Right. And the Secretary of State there was talking about how he himself was a refugee joined by followers in camp as a 9-year-old child. And he goes, we were given security and safety, 5 Cameroonians, when we were going through a hard time in desert. And now, when they are in our country, we will do the same. And that has to be something positive. Like, that is very, very heartwarming, right? I went to Vega, and when we went all around the country, and we spoke to displaced communities in Borno, in Benue, in Cross River, all over the place. And we said, what do you want? And every displaced person says, we want to go home. And I say, so what if we can't send you home? What if it's not safe to go home? And they said, we want a job. We don't want your handouts. We just want a job. You want to have the dignity to live and take care of ourselves and our families. So the first place we went to after that is Lagos. We said, if you want to create jobs, you need the private sector. And we went to a number of private sector partners, a tropical general investment, Farouk. We went Jain. We went to Outsource Global, we went to a number of partners, and we said, this is the problem we're facing in this country. Could you help us find a solution? And it triggered a very emotional response, which till today, they're like, what do you want us to do? What can we do more of? So the private sector that is based in Lagos that were not aware of what's happening in the Northeast, suddenly when they became aware, they were like, we want to do more. And that, again, is a very positive story that I must say is holding us in good stead up to now. Right now, we are working with TGI to actually invest in planning jobs and farming solutions for displaced communities. We do the same thing in getting jobs through companies that are offering jobs to people. So I think people are aware. We went to the government and we said we have this challenge. And they go, all right, what do we do about it? Today we are working in Benue to find a way to send something like 6,000 to 7,000 families back to their place of origin. Right? And it'll happen in the next 6 months. The government of Nigeria, including maybe with the support of the vice president, has actually adopted a national plan for solutions of IDP. States like Benue, Borno, Adamawa, Yobe, Katsina, Zamfara have all adopted state action plans. There is a proactive effort, but my fear is that the crisis is so large and is becoming so much more complicated, with the drivers of displacement becoming so much more savvy. In the Northeast, they're using drone warfare. in the northwest. They are coming in large numbers and going further south. The so-called farmer-herder conflict, people are using submachine guns. So just as we're catching up, things are getting far worse for us to deal with. And so the numbers are most likely to rise unless we have some major surgery on how we're going to address this crisis.
I mean, this is where I will try to find a way to draw you into some of our findings, right? Preliminary findings.
Sure.
I was in Benue with my team, and we even visited one of the camps. And I remember a man telling me he had been in camps for 14 years, moving from one camp to the other. And he said, I just want to go. That's all he wants.
Yeah.
But beyond telling us that he wants to go home is that how safe would it be for him to go? Right? And in the course of the discussion, I mean, some preliminary findings were done. You find out that the multiplicity of the conflicts or the violence in Benue shows that even the ones we think we know may not be the real key drivers. Their percentage may be very low. For instance, farmer-herder conflict in Benue is below 30%. If you aggregate the entire conflicts, right? The other ones are the new emerging ones, right? Well, because they are mixed up in most of them, the original name is what we use to grant our work. But let me move to my question, which is how to protect the protector, like your staff, people who go to do most of these things. I mean, I wonder how someone who is to protect young people, IDPs, you're not even sure because of the level of arms that are being used. What are you doing about your people who go to these difficult places to find a way?
Well, globally, I think over the past couple of years, we've seen more humanitarians be killed than ever before. There was a time where the UN logo or the Red Cross logo was considered to be a sign of safety. Do not attack us. We have come here unarmed. We're here to help communities. We are not parties to conflict. But there are people who think that we are fake. We are not in this business to be killed. We're here to support other communities. It is true that there are some parts of Nigeria that we can't go to because the security situation is so severe. It is true that there are more places that we are working that are being attacked in our freedom. One of the things, and it is true, by the way, that our security costs, not just for the UN, but for the humanitarian community and even for the government, is just increased. To drill oil wells in some of these areas is becoming more expensive because the security situation is hard. We can't hire private companies because they go, we don't want to work there, right? So it's really, really hard. But there are things that we do to mitigate that risk. One of them is engaging extremely closely with communities. Because if you have the threat within communities, then engaging with the community and explaining what you're there for and why you're there, what you tend to do, and getting feedback from there and collaborating with communities allows you to create a layer of safety and security. Now, that might be a bit of a facade. I'm not sure. Let's not forget that the UN House was born over a decade ago, and there is no reason to believe that we are still not at risk and we are not attacked.
Yeah, but I'm a bit worried about the increased attack on civilians, right? I mean, initially, if you ask me about Boone or the best days and tell me this community was attacked, in my head, I'll tell him, oh, likely going to be Charles, right? If you tell me that, oh, a military post was attacked, I'm going to tell his ISA because we know what. But there seems to be a crisscross of every other to be.
Yeah, and it's a bit worrying, right? Of late, we've seen places that have never been attacked be attacked for zombie, right? You've never seen attacks the choir. We're seeing attacks. We're seeing attacks in the non-central places that we never see before. The nature of We saw a recent case of kidnapping there. We never see that before. So these are things that we are also trying to examine, and it is worrying for communities. It's really sad when I speak to people here, who I meet, and Nigerians will say, there was a time that we could drive to Maiduguri from our car, and it was safe, and we used to go shopping there. And the University of Maiduguri is, of course, one of the better ones. And then there are people in Maiduguri themselves who say we used to go to Bank and do our shopping on the Cameroonian border and bring back French stuff. And we used to sell our own stuff there. Now, today, if you go to Bank, that's nearly impossible. We go to Banki often. We have massive programs. Now, you know the geography of the Ziraptree. You have Maiduguri, and Banki is a 45-minute helicopter ride. It's on the Cameroonian border. It's an important trading post. If you fly from Maiduguri to Banki, you fly over 45 minutes of land that has not been cultivated for decades. Fallow land that has not been touched. 45 minutes of that. Imagine the amount of food and opportunities wasted. People living in camps. And the government has actually made a very solid proposal because we don't want people living in camps. And we agree with the government. We don't believe that camps are useful. But they have no choice because that's the only safe area. They're living in garrison towns, which is very dystopian. They want to farm, and there's nothing to farm. So you're absolutely right. It's a bit worrying.
Let me bring you back to the idea of working with Nigerian private sector, which I think should be the way to go, considering that the donor community is fatigued, right? And again, with the cut in funding, I mean, this is a big issue.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you how you did manage. I don't know how much you are, but how have you been doing this?
It's been hard. Look, we ourselves in UNHCR have had in Nigeria, we had a 60% cut in our staff. So that our budgets have gone down a lot. But somehow we found very innovative ways of working and not giving up. A lot of it is due to 2 or 3 strategies that we've been using. It's not about how much money you get, but how smart you use that money. So that's really important. We have invested heavily in communities, where communities are now taking charge of taking care of insects. They are the ones who report on any attacks that they are facing or threats that they are facing. They're the ones who tell us, oh, we feel safe and we're not feeling safe. So that results in a far more effective, sustainable approach where the communities take charge of their own selves. The second issue that we're working on is, as you said, private sector. And why are we working with private sector? Because we don't want to stay there forever. Our job is one day not to have a job. Our job is to say there would be a day where the government, the communities, and the private sector, they can work together and we don't need to be there. So we have made a commitment not to be working with the community for more than a year. And within that year, we provide the immediate emergency support, which is life-saving to the first 48 hours. We provide assistance and get people to look for solutions from day one. And a lot of the people who are displaced are farmers, right? A lot of displaced people are able to work. They'd be working 24 hours. They want to get back to work. In some cases, we are helping them return back to work. In some cases, we are relocating them to safer locations where they can find work. So we have Tropical General Investment, we have Outsource Global, we have a number of people who've come together to do this. When I went to Laos in 2024, people were surprised. In May, June 2024, people were surprised that there were so many displaced communities across the country. In August 2024, we had our first November 2024, we had our first private sector conference. And we had a few hundred people saying, what can we do to help? This February, we had another conference to follow up. And there's a commitment to do more, to invest more in these communities. If we can get the private sector enough incentives to invest in fragile communities, we don't need to be there permanently. We could be there initially, we could provide a light touch, and then we can walk away over time. And let a natural course of action where people are working, people have jobs with the private sector, they are being de-risked, they are given agri clothes, they are given training support, and they can continue living their life very count.
Yeah, but this might be in community. That's only talking now, right?
Right.
This might be in communities where you have a bit of stable security, right? And that takes me to the issue of durable solution. I mean, I don't say it looks good on paper, right? But I think it's good. But I think there's some elements that are missing. Those elements are political in nature. Those elements are those decisions that people make when they look at each other's face and say, beyond all these things, we're all human. Right? Do you think we've added that element to the durable solution dilemma? Right? Do you think that durable solution, the way we try to package it, can ever work if we don't get to that level where within ourselves, we're telling ourselves the truth that we're all Nigerians. Beyond whatever thing we think, these people need to go more. If it's because of my religious or political thinking, I'm ready to drop it. Because I need these communities to go. What do you think?
In my experience, and I've spoken to a number of people in the military, in religious circles, in various security groups, forces, civil society, government, state, federal. Every time I've gone to them the problem, every time, without fail, they have always tried to find a solution. Every time I've said, we've got a problem of displaced people, we need to find a solution, they are willing to listen and put in some resources and support towards it. Either I'm really lucky, or there is a genuine need or genuine concern where you pitch a problem and a proposal, people say, let's see what we can do. Up to now, they never said no. Sometimes people act more actively and find solutions, sometimes less active, right? The private sector has never said. They've always said, what can we do to help? We can do A, B, C. Can you help us do this? And we can jointly do something. Even in difficult situations, even in a place like Bangla, which is being attacked on a regular basis, and the military has to repel those attacks literally every week nowadays. Even there, we have got 200 hectares of land. We are installing an irrigation system, and we are encouraging people to farm there because most of them can farm. We have rebuilt a vocational training center, which the government of Bono is investing in and now running. And they provide some 400 to 500 people vocational training, a 9 to 11 month course, which is international certified so they can get jobs, either in Banki or in Bono or it's. I had a hope. If I had no hope, I would not be here. But I believe that Nigerians know what the solution is. Maybe they need a catalyst, maybe they need somebody to pull them together. But I believe Nigeria has a fiscal capacity. I believe Nigeria has the intellectual capacity, and believe that Nigeria can have the political capacity to do something it may want. This country is more than capable. I will grant you that more can be done.
Yeah.
I will grant you that.
I take that word if they want to.
But I will also say this. The layers and complexity of challenges that you're facing as a country is quite significant. And those layers and complexities are not Nigerian made. A lot of it is because of regional destabilization.
Thank you. My next question, if I don't ask you this question, my daughter shall be so angry. So, and it has to do with communities that host IDPs. I mean, she was in Abuja, she went to a camp here near the airport. It's a new formal camp. Have you been there?
I've been to one of them, but quite a few factories. Yes.
So there are a lot of informal camps in the country where communities are hosting relations. They're doing a lot. Are they part of the people your organizations is overseeing? If not, if we continue to think only about ITPs, what about the host communities? Don't you think that it might get to a situation where these people are thinking, okay, the government is only after those who are displaced. What about us that are hosting them?
You're absolutely right. And I think we've learned that lesson over years, not just here, but around the world. You can have refugees or IDPs, but you will always have people who are displaced and people who are post-university or who are displaced. And the one thing that we've learned is you cannot assist the people who are displaced at the expense of the people who are not displaced, right? So we are moving away from, in Nigeria, I can tell you, we moved away from individual assistance with a few minor exceptions. What we are doing is area-based assistance, which is
Area-based assistance.
yeah, which feeds into a national system. Okay, right? We don't want to create parallel systems that are parallel to what the government services offer. What we want to do is improve government services. So go to Benue, go to Eastern Benue. We just inaugurated PX, primary healthcare. But the PHC is almost like a mini hospital. And we've done that because we want the medical staff to come there and work there, right? But even have communities in that area access a good healthcare system. Just because you are born in rural Nigeria doesn't mean that you are not entitled to high quality service. Sure. And it doesn't matter if you're displaced or if you're a post community, you should get access to that service. We've done the same thing with primary schools and secondary schools. We've upgraded the schools that we say it doesn't matter if you're in Ogoja, if you're Cross River, you deserve high quality education. And yes, you're hosting refugees, which also should entitle you to a better quality of education. And we are providing that sort of support. We have a company, a Spanish company called Pro Futura, that is providing digital education to children, to Nigerian children and refugee children in Ogoja. So everything we do has to be for the benefit of the whole community so that they can work together and find solutions. Banki, we are supporting host communities as well as IDPs. In Katsina, we're doing the same thing. In Benue, we're doing the same thing. A lot of it is PHCs, a lot of it is schools, a lot of it is solar streetlights, a lot of it is job creation, a lot of it is agriculture, irrigation projects. All these area-based support would benefit everyone. You are absolutely right, however, if we were to target only one community because of the fact that they are displaced, we would begin by fake. That would be the beginning of the end for anything that we do.
Thanks. And this might be my last question. Sure. Of course, Nigeria ratified the Kampala Convention.
Yes.
So I won't be you quoted about context if I say that the responsibility to protect is on the Nigerian state.
Always.
Good. But somehow I have this thought that the responsibility to account is on everyone.
That is great.
So what do you think? A situation where, most times I do feel that the Nigerian citizens are not doing enough. Maybe, I don't know, I may be wrong. I have this feeling that this issue of being my neighbor's keeper, being my brother's keeper, since I have dwindled to a situation where people have really pitched camps. I don't know whether it's because of ethnic divide, religious divide, and other issues that maybe political divide and so on, right? Is there any way you think that we can start accounting for these over 3.7 billion people? I mean, I see people do GoFundMe, right? Nigeria is a place where private philanthropy is not something that is But for the work you do, is there any way we can raise the bar so that people can start feeling it? People can start, even in churches, in mosques, can start doing a law about people who are being displaced, right? I know I have this thing I tell people that the way the conflict in Nigeria is going, he might get to Banana Island one day. So the rich will also cry if we don't do end. What do you think?
I believe that we have a solid foundation to do that. I wish we can do more. And I hope, and also with your support, that we do. We have worked with religious institutions and they are mobilizing a lot of resources. I believe, and you know this yourself. I mean, in 2024, when the Naira crashed, everyone here got calls from their relatives. Anyone who had a job got a call from relatives, said, "Peace up, my children." And everyone was hurt. Whatever little Nigerians had, they shared it with other. Right? I don't think you should discount that at all. It's something that you may not appreciate, maybe as a Nigerian. I appreciate it as a non-Nigerian because I've been to countries where that does not have. Right? So I think that is a good foundation, and I think we can do more.
Probably I wanted more.
I think you
Yeah.
should.
I mean, I know what people did during COVID,
Right.
right? Why can't we kind of transfer the same energy to these other things?
I think it will. I think people sometimes don't know what to do. Sometimes they are lost for ideas or they don't know how to channel their energy or funding. And I think that is one of the issues. I think another challenge could be the fact that they are helping other fragile communities, not just IDPs. And in many situations, let's be honest, you can't label an IDP. Some people are displaced today, they've gone home tomorrow. I believe there's an opportunity. I believe that we can be a catalyst. I believe that we can reconvene people. I'm very impressed with the private sector actually stepping up. We have done more with the private sector here than we have done in most countries on the continent, right? And in fact, many things that Nigeria is doing with the private sector is setting a tone for other countries and other parts of the world. That's how advanced a lot of our negotiations and a lot of our collaborations are. If you look at some of the innovation that Nigeria is working on, it's quite really useful. You know that you can't often sell doctors to remote areas. Sure. But many of you are working on technical opportunities. That's just fascinating. So you use innovation. I read a report that the diaspora community that is progressing the fastest in the US are Nigerians. So more than Indians, my country, more than Chinese. If you can do that there, I'm pretty sure you're doing it here too. You may not see it.
And our remittances are something
It's significant.
to brag about.
Yeah, and it's not just blue collar, it's white collar. That's right. So it is huge. It is huge. So I believe there is the inspection capacity. And I totally agree with you. I think we could do. Private sector, religious organizations, the UN, humanitarian communities, development partners, collectively, I think we have to do more, not just in finding solutions for displaced communities, but actually preventing more displacement from now.
Thank you. This might be my final one. Do you think you can work with Nigerian diaspora because I know you need more money. If I give you more funds, you'll be happy to put it in the work you do. Do you think there might be a way that you work with Nigerian diaspora to contribute to the work you do?
We would love to. We have a strong Nigerian diaspora in the UK. And I think we would love to work with them a lot more. We have a strong Nigerian diaspora in Canada, and we would love to work with them. And we have a strong Nigerian diaspora in the US as well. Sure. We would love to work. More importantly, we have a very strong Nigerian diaspora across Africa that we would love to work with. We are not asking that they provide money right through. What we would like is a partnership where we say, how can we collaborate to find solutions? There are people who come from Benin, from Poland, from Cape, from all the states that are facing a crisis, and we can work with them to actually address some of the challenges that their communities are facing. Here's the other thing. It's not about more money owned. It's about smart money. It's about how we utilize the money and empower communities to take care of themselves. My job, and I would say this, is one day not to have a job. Because I should be able to leave a community, say, Nigeria has a capacity to deal with this. This community has got a private sector partner. It's got a very strong and able government partner. And it's got the community that is standing up for its rights. And once the combination is there, I don't need to be there. And that would be the day that would make me extremely happy. And we are doing that. And I will show you that in 6 months event.
Thank you, Arjun.
An absolute delight. Thanks.
Nice having this conversation.
Thank you so much.